So today we're going to talk about linear inequalities. And upon completion of today's lesson, you should be able to use algebra to solve linear inequalities. So when we're solving linear inequalities, we are going to solve them the same way that we solve simple equations. Like when you have x minus 17 is equal to 12. To solve that, we add 17 to both sides. And my 17s will cancel, and I get x is equal to 29. So we're going to take that same method and we're going to apply it now to inequalities. So x minus 17 is greater than 12. We will add 17 to both sides, and whatever you do to the left side, you must do to the right side. My 17s cancel, and I get x is greater than 29. Now our next example, y plus 11 is less than or equal to 5. To get rid of the 11, you have to subtract 11 from both sides. When you subtract 11 from both sides, your 11s will cancel on the left side, and you're left with y is less than or equal to negative 6. So that's with simple addition and subtraction. Now when you apply it to multiplication and division, we're going to do the same things in which we would do for solving regular equations. So to get rid of a fraction, such as t over 6, we would have to multiply both sides by 6. When you multiply both sides by 6, my 6's on the left side cancel, and I get t is greater than or equal to 66. In example 2b, we have 8p is less than 72. To isolate the variable, we have to get rid of the 8, so we have to divide both sides by 8. Whatever you do to the left, you always do to the right. So my 8's cancel, and I get p is less than 9. Now, the only time that you have to change the direction of your inequality sign is when you multiply or divide by a negative number. Multiply and division there with a negative number. That will always mean that you flip the direction. So by taking a look here, we have negative 5c is greater than 30. To get c by itself, we have to divide both sides by negative 5. When you divide the left side by negative 5, you have to divide the right side by negative 5, and my negative 5's cancel. So I am left with c on the left side. Now, I divided by a negative number, so I need to flip the direction of my inequality sign. So c is now less than 30 divided by negative 5 is negative 6. Now, on example 3b, we have negative d over 13 is less than or equal to negative 4. Now, there are multiple ways to solve this. And most people don't like to put the negative in the denominator. So what they do first is they say, I'm going to get rid of this 13. And to do that, I'm going to multiply both sides by 13. Whatever you do to the left side, you must do to the right side. On the left side, my 13 cancels, and I'm left with negative d is less than or equal to negative 4 times 13 is negative 52. Now, I'm not done because I need to get d by itself. So to isolate d, I'm going to divide by a negative 1. Whatever you do to the left side, you must do to the right side. That is dividing by negative 1 makes you flip the direction of the inequality sign. So I have d is greater than or equal to 52. So that is the only rule change that you need to be aware of when using inequalities. So now we're going to look at two examples for multi-step inequalities. So I got negative 6a plus 13 is less than negative 7. Now we talked about when solving equations, I always want to take my variables to the left side and isolate them. So I want to isolate that a. To isolate my a, I'm going to subtract 13 from both sides. My 13's cancel. I'm left with negative 6a is less than negative 20. Again, I am trying to isolate my a, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 6. When you divide by a negative number, you have to flip the direction of your inequality. So A is greater than 20 over 6. Now this is not your answer because 20 over 6 can be reduced. So it can be divided by a 2 over 2. When you take 20 divided by 2, you get 10. When you take 6 divided by 2, you get 3. So your final answer is A is greater than 10 over 3. And then our final example. It says I have 4z plus 7 is less than or equal to 8z minus 1. Now, I said I want to take my variables to the left side. So to take my variables to the left side, I'm going to subtract 8z. From the right side, whatever you do to the right, you must do to the left. So I subtract 8z. My 8z's will cancel on the right side, leaving a greater than negative 1. 4z minus 8z gives me negative 4z plus 7. Now I have all my z's on the same side. I'm trying to isolate my z. So to isolate my z, I need to get rid of my 7. So I'm going to subtract 7 on both sides. When I subtract 7, my 7's cancel. I'm left with negative 4z is greater than or equal to negative 8. Still trying to isolate my single variable. So now I'm going to divide by negative 4. When you divide both sides by negative 4, you get z. You have to change the direction of your inequality because you divided by a negative is now less than or equal to 2.